Elasticsearch is an open source search engine that you can install and deploy within the PeopleSoft search framework. This Spotlight series focuses on the following topics: understanding PeopleSoft search framework and Elasticsearch, understanding Elasticsearch cluster, deploying Elasticsearch on a new installation, integrating Elasticsearch with a PeopleSoft environment, and managing an Elasticsearch cluster. In PeopleTools 8.56, Elasticsearch is the only supported search engine. Verity and Oracle SES are now discontinued. In PeopleTools 8.54 and 8.55, SES will be supported until April 30th, 2018. You'll find sources of additional information at the end of this presentation. The additional information includes information about Elasticsearch documentation and accessing the Elasticsearch Spotlight Series videos. You will also find information on Elasticsearch terminology at the end of this presentation. This includes a table of terminology used in the open source Elasticsearch product and in the PeopleSoft search framework. It may be beneficial to read this terminology to familiarize yourself with the commonly used terms used in Elasticsearch. In this Spotlight series, we'll cover the following topics. In the first topic, PeopleSoft Search Framework and Elasticsearch, we'll briefly discuss PeopleSoft Search Framework and the Elasticsearch search engine. In the Understanding Clusters in Elasticsearch topic, we'll briefly discuss the important concept of cluster in Elasticsearch. PeopleSoft deployment packages or DPKs were introduced in PeopleTools 8.55 and are used to deploy Elasticsearch. In the Understanding Elasticsearch DPK topic, we'll describe how to obtain the Elasticsearch DPK and describe some of the software components it contains. In the Deploying Elasticsearch topic, we'll describe the Elasticsearch deployment process, the individual deployment steps, and how to verify the cluster setup. The Integrating Elasticsearch with PeopleSoft topic takes you through the steps of configuring PeopleSoft search framework with Elasticsearch using the ACM plugins and PIA. The Managing an Elasticsearch cluster topic discusses tasks that help you manage a cluster. And the final topic, Additional Information, lists the resources for more information about the Elasticsearch framework and the PeopleSoft search framework. Let's begin with a brief introduction to PeopleSoft search framework and the new search engine Elasticsearch. The PeopleSoft search framework includes pages and records that provide a centralized interface to configure a search engine, to create search definitions and categories, to build and maintain search indexes, and to search content using global search and search pages. In PeopleTools 8.56, Elasticsearch is the only supported search engine. As mentioned in the introduction, other search engines supported by PeopleSoft included Verity and Oracle SES, which are discontinued in PeopleTools 8.56. When you deploy the Elasticsearch search engine, the processes of creating queries, creating search definitions and categories, deploying search definitions and categories, and viewing search results are not changed. You can use the same search definitions and categories in Elasticsearch that you used in SES, but you need to build indexes for them. This use case presents a scenario where you are performing a fresh install of Elasticsearch. This use case assumes the following: that you are using PeopleSoft 9.2 application. The PeopleSoft application must include the appropriate fixes for Elasticsearch as delivered with the latest PeopleSoft update image. You need to refer to PeopleSoft application's Elasticsearch updates and fixes on My Oracle support. Doc ID 2181988.1. That the PeopleSoft application is on PeopleSoft PeopleTools 8.56 and higher patch level. That you want to use Elasticsearch as the search engine for the PeopleSoft search framework. On the Elasticsearch server, you need to perform the following steps. Plan. Estimate resource requirements and review settings needed for the host on which you install Elasticsearch. Refer to the PeopleSoft deployment packages for Elasticsearch installation document on My Oracle Support, doc ID 2205540.2. Deploy DPK. Deploy Elasticsearch DPK and run the configuration script on a Microsoft Windows or Linux host. On the PeopleSoft environment, you need to perform the following steps. Set up PeopleSoft Search Framework. Refer to the Administering PeopleSoft Search Framework topic in the PeopleTools 8.56 Search Technology Online Help for instructions on setting up the search framework. Take PeopleSoft application updates. Make sure you have at least taken the bugs related to Elasticsearch for your PeopleSoft application as shown on the PeopleSoft Update Manager or PUM homepage. The My Oracle Support doc ID is 1641843.2. You may find it simpler to upgrade to the current PeopleSoft update image to ensure you have the latest fixes. Taking Elasticsearch updates is discussed later in this video and in the installation documentation. Add search instance. There are two options to create a search instance. You can use Automated Configuration Manager or ACM to run a template to create a search instance. Alternatively, you can use the Search Instance Properties page to create an instance. Later in this presentation, a demonstration will run you through the steps of using ACM. We'll also view the description of the Search Instance Properties page. Complete other tasks. To complete the setup of the search functionality, you need to perform other tasks such as deploying search definitions and categories, building indexes, and testing the search functionality. On successfully completing all these tasks, you're set to go live on Elasticsearch. If you want to do more reading on any of the steps, please refer to the 8.56 Search Technology Online Help and to the PeopleSoft deployment packages for Elasticsearch installation document. We will now discuss clusters and the importance of clusters in Elasticsearch. In this section, we'll get an understanding of clusters. When we discuss the Elasticsearch deployment and the post-deployment actions with respect to a cluster, we'll discuss in detail the steps that need to be performed. A cluster is a collection of nodes. Multiple nodes running on one or more hosts, whether physical or virtual, can be grouped into a cluster. Different types of nodes can be present in a cluster. In the PeopleSoft implementation of an Elasticsearch cluster, only the master data node type is supported. That is, the node can act both as a master node and as a data node. Multiple nodes in a cluster provide for redundancy and scaling. It is important to note here that the following 4 bullet points describe the parameters of clusters that should be defined during the installation of Elasticsearch. The 5th bullet point, shards and replicas, is defined on the search options page in the PIA after you deploy Elasticsearch and connect it to the PeopleSoft application through a search instance. Before we discuss clusters, it is important to understand the Elasticsearch.yml file. The Elasticsearch.yml file is a configuration file that contains the most important settings that you need to configure a cluster. Please note that the .yml file uses space indentation, so you should be careful when you edit it. Cluster name must be unique. The cluster name is important because a node can only be part of a cluster if the node is set up to join the cluster by its name. Make sure that you don't reuse the same cluster names in different environments, otherwise you might end up with nodes joining the wrong cluster. For example, you could use logging dev, logging stage, and logging prod for the development, staging, and production clusters. When you install Elasticsearch using DPK, the script prompts for the name of the cluster. If you are installing Elasticsearch manually, you need to specify the cluster name in the cluster.name parameter in the Elasticsearch.yml file. Master nodes in a cluster. One node in the cluster is elected to be the master node, which is responsible for lightweight cluster-wide actions such as creating or deleting an index, tracking which nodes are part of the cluster, and deciding which shards to allocate to which nodes. Any master-eligible node, and all nodes by default are master-eligible nodes, may be elected to become the master node by the master election process. During the Elasticsearch installation, the script prompts you for the minimum number of master nodes. If you are installing Elasticsearch manually, you need to specify a value for the discovery.zen.minimum_master_nodes parameter in the Elasticsearch.yml file. Oracle PeopleSoft recommends a cluster with 3 nodes for high availability and to prevent a split-brain scenario. Later, depending on the hardware, memory availability, and search performance, you may add nodes to the existing cluster. To prevent the split-brain scenario, the minimum_master_nodes parameter should be configured to a majority of master-eligible nodes. Use this formula to know the majority of your master-eligible nodes. Total number of master-eligible nodes divided by 2 plus 1. For example, if your cluster has 10 master-eligible nodes, then the majority of master-eligible nodes is 6. List of host names where Elasticsearch is installed. A node name is a symbolic name for identifying the node. The host name is the IP or DNS of the machine where Elasticsearch is installed. Host names or the IP or DNS are required for letting each Elasticsearch server know where it can ping and find other Elasticsearch servers during booting up. When you install Elasticsearch using DPK, the script prompts you to enter the host names of nodes present in the cluster. If you are installing Elasticsearch manually, you need to specify the host names for the discovery.zen.ping.unicast.hosts parameter in the Elasticsearch.yml file. Enclose one or more host names in square brackets with the host name or IP address in double quotes. For example, for one host you would enter host1.example.com. For 2 or more hosts, use commas. host1.example.com, 127.0.0.1. On the PeopleSoft search framework, each of these nodes needs to be added to the search instance properties page unless you are relying upon a load balancer. These nodes can be used in a failover scenario by PeopleSoft so that search requests can be directed to an available node. Shards and replicas. Elasticsearch provides the ability to subdivide your index into multiple pieces called shards. When you create an index, you can simply define the number of shards that you want. Each shard is in itself a fully functional and independent index that can be hosted on any node in the cluster. Elasticsearch allows you to make one or more copies of your index's shards into what are called replica shards, or replicas for short. We'll discuss more on shards and replicas when we discuss the post-deployment actions with respect to a cluster. For more information, refer to the topic Working with Elasticsearch Clusters in the PeopleTools 8.56 Search Technology online help. We'll now discuss the contents of the Elasticsearch DPK. In PeopleTools 8.56, you can use the Elasticsearch DPK revision 3. The Elasticsearch deployment package contains scripts to automate most of the tasks needed to set up an Elasticsearch environment. The Elasticsearch DPK sets up Elasticsearch cluster with one or more nodes. You need to run the Elasticsearch DPK on each of the nodes to install Elasticsearch and also ensure that each node references the other nodes of the cluster. We've discussed these aspects in the preceding topic on Elasticsearch clusters. The Elasticsearch DPK also sets up the administrator user and the proxy user. The setup script provides an option to upgrade a previous Elasticsearch installation. This option is available with Elasticsearch DPK Revision 3. Refer to the PeopleSoft deployment packages for Elasticsearch installation on My Oracle Support for instructions on upgrading. Doc ID 2205540.2. The Elasticsearch DPK includes the open source Elasticsearch software, PeopleSoft delivered plugins for Elasticsearch, including plugins for authentication, authorization, encryption, and file web crawling. PeopleSoft delivered customized code for Elasticsearch. Python software and PeopleSoft developed scripts that automate Elasticsearch deployment. Please note that the Elasticsearch DPK Revision 3 uses Python scripts, so Puppet software is no longer installed. The Elasticsearch DPK also includes Oracle Java JRE 1.8. We will now discuss the important process of deploying Elasticsearch in a PeopleSoft implementation. Before you begin deploying Elasticsearch, please review the hardware requirements, software requirements, and other configuration and performance recommendations for Elasticsearch. You can find this information in the PeopleSoft deployment packages for Elasticsearch installation document on the Elasticsearch homepage. Let's have a look at the high-level steps for deploying Elasticsearch. Step 1. Download and extract the Elasticsearch DPK. Step 2. Run the DPK setup script to deploy and set up Elasticsearch. Step 3. Verify the Elasticsearch deployment. And Step 4. Verify the Elasticsearch cluster and its nodes. Note that in this Spotlight Series presentation, we describe deploying Elasticsearch on a Windows environment. The first step in deploying Elasticsearch is to download the Elasticsearch DPK. You can download the Elasticsearch DPK from the My Oracle Support website or from the Oracle Software Delivery Cloud. Please note that you should download the Elasticsearch DPK that is provided by PeopleSoft because it contains the necessary plugins required to work with PeopleSoft Search Framework. Also, please note that you should not download Elasticsearch from Elastic. You must then extract the Elasticsearch DPK zip file. Download into an empty directory and extract the entire contents of the zip file in the same directory where you downloaded it to. Note that in this presentation, we'll refer to the es_install folder as the location where the Elasticsearch DPK is downloaded and extracted. After you download and extract, the following directories will be created. Archives directory. This includes archives for deployment. Puppet directory. This includes the open source Puppet software and is used when you run Puppet-based installation. Please note that Elasticsearch DPK Revision 3 uses Python scripts for deploying Elasticsearch. If you want to use Puppet, please refer to the PeopleSoft deployment packages for Elasticsearch installation document on the Elasticsearch homepage. Setup directory. This includes the setup scripts. Elasticsearch manifest file. This includes the version information about Elasticsearch and JRE provided in the DPK. The next step is to run the Elasticsearch DPK setup script. Execute the Elasticsearch DPK setup script and specify deployment options and settings. The deployment options and settings include defining the PeopleSoft base directory. This is the directory where the system installs Elasticsearch components. Defining the administrator user password. The administrator user has permissions to authenticate requests on Elasticsearch. Defining the proxy user password. The proxy user enables the PeopleSoft system to log into the search engine using a proxy identity to run a query. Next, specify a name for the Elasticsearch cluster. Please note that you need to consider the description for cluster name in the earlier part of this presentation. Specify an Elasticsearch HTTP port. Enter the host name or names for any nodes that are already part of a cluster. Please note that you need to consider the description for host name in the earlier part of this presentation. Specify the minimum number of master nodes. Enter a value, then press Enter. Please note that you need to consider the description for master nodes in the earlier part of this presentation. Specify the path where Elasticsearch data should reside. A default path is listed, but it is recommended to change the path to a location outside es_home, which is the base directory. Specify the path where Elasticsearch logs should reside. A default path is listed, but you may change the path if required. Define the Java heap size. The default value is 1 GB. Refer to the PeopleSoft deployment packages for Elasticsearch installation document on the Elasticsearch homepage. And then review the status messages as the script runs and sets up the environment for Elasticsearch. On your environment, you may perform checks on the file structure and environment variables to ensure that the deployment is successful. This includes Elasticsearch Windows service, data and log files, folders for Elasticsearch Home and Java JRE, environment variables for Java_Home and es_heap_size. Please refer to the PeopleSoft deployment packages for Elasticsearch installation document on My Oracle Support, doc ID 2205540.2. This document contains additional deployment verification checks that are not discussed in this presentation. Steps to remove an Elasticsearch installation on Windows, and instructions on deploying Elasticsearch on a Linux environment. At this moment in the presentation, we've installed Elasticsearch, but we've not integrated the Elasticsearch search engine with the PeopleSoft environment. So we'll use the following command in a browser to verify a cluster and its nodes. In this command, the host refers to the Elasticsearch host. You will be prompted to enter the Elasticsearch user credentials. Enter ESAdmin. In the response that is displayed, search for the nodes/count/total section. The information on cluster and nodes is provided in the section. After we integrate the Elasticsearch search engine with the PeopleSoft environment, we can take advantage of the options provided by PeopleSoft Search Framework to verify a cluster and its nodes. PeopleSoft Search Framework provides a couple of ways to verify a cluster and its nodes: PeopleSoft Health Center and Elasticsearch Interact page. These two options are not discussed in this presentation. Refer to the Working with Elasticsearch Clusters topic in the PeopleTools 8.56 Search Technology online help. In a multi-node cluster, you must ensure that the replica values are set correctly. Replicas are set on the Search Options page. At this moment in the presentation, the Elasticsearch search engine is not integrated with the PeopleSoft environment. So we'll discuss this task later when we discuss the integration of Elasticsearch with the PeopleSoft environment. After installing Elasticsearch, the next task is to integrate the Elasticsearch search engine with the PeopleSoft application. To complete the integration of the Elasticsearch search engine with the PeopleSoft environment, the following tasks have to be performed. You must identify and apply any necessary bugs delivered with the latest PeopleSoft update image for your PeopleSoft application. You must create a search instance using the configuration template search_template in Automated Configuration Manager. After creating a search instance, you need to specify the number of replicas on the search options page. After you complete the PeopleSoft integration with Elasticsearch, You must identify and apply any necessary bugs delivered with the latest PeopleSoft update image for your PeopleSoft application. To do so, go to the PeopleSoft Update Manager homepage on My Oracle Support and locate and download the current update image for your PeopleSoft application. Features and fixes for Elasticsearch are delivered beginning with the following images. For HCM, features and fixes for Elasticsearch are delivered beginning with image 9.2.018. For PeopleSoft Enterprise Learning Management, image 9.2.013. For PeopleSoft Financials and Supply Chain Management, 9.2.018. For PeopleSoft Customer Relationship Management, 9.2.011. And for PeopleSoft Interaction Hub, 9.1.03. A search instance in the PeopleSoft search framework represents a single instance of the search engine. The search instance is created using the PeopleSoft search framework. Define the instances that will be used by the PeopleSoft applications to provide end-user searching capabilities. The search instance definition specifies connectivity and other administration settings required for running queries against the search server and for administrative tasks. In a search instance, you provide values for host name of the search provider, which is Elasticsearch, the port value, the administrator username and password that you entered while running the Elasticsearch DPK, the proxy username and password that you entered while running the Elasticsearch DPK, callback URL that points to the gateway defined in Integration Broker, and callback user's username and password. This user must have the following roles: PeopleSoft user, search query administrator, and search server. Before creating the instance, verify that you have the necessary roles of search administration, search developer, search server, and ACM administrator. These roles are described in the installation documentation. There are two ways to create an Elasticsearch search instance. Using the Automated Configuration Manager or ACM enables you to automate the configuration of an Elasticsearch instance. You can also use ACM to automate the deploying of search definitions and categories, as well as automate indexing. The Search Administration Activity Guide configuration activity using PIA features a search instance task. In this task, you use the Search Instance Properties page to create the search instance. We'll talk more about these methods, and in a few minutes, we'll demonstrate using Automated Configuration Manager to create an Elasticsearch search instance. To use Automated Configuration Manager to create an Elasticsearch instance, you use a delivered template, search_template, that automates the configuration process. In this presentation, we'll be using the search_template template. This example shows the Automated Configuration Manager configuration template definition page with the search_template selected. The delivered search_template consists of two plugins. Configure Search Instance. In this plugin, you specify the configuration properties for a search instance, and Deploy Search Definition. In this plugin, you specify the deploying and indexing of search definitions and categories. The properties of the plugins are discussed in the following demonstration. Before you begin to use the ACM templates, verify that you have the ACM administrator role. To edit search_template, navigate to PeopleTools, Automated Configuration Manager, ACM Templates, Template Definition, and then search for and open search_template. The delivered search_template consists of two plugins. Configure Search Instance. In this plugin, you specify the configuration properties for a search instance. And Deploy Search Definition. In this plugin, you specify the deploying and indexing of search definitions and categories. To bring up the page where you can review and enter values for the configuration properties, you need to select a plugin and then click the Properties icon for the plugin. First, we'll create a search instance. So, select the Configure Search Instance plugin and click the Properties icon. Here, we'll discuss some of the major properties of the Configure Search Instance plugin and the properties for which you need to provide values. env.ptsf_search_instance. In this template, the default name of the search instance is ptsf_search. You may change the name, but ensure that you do not have a search instance by the same name existing in your environment, because the template will update the existing search instance. In this presentation, we'll retain the default search instance name, that is ptsf_search. env.search_nodes. The number of nodes that have been set up for the Elasticsearch cluster. If you are setting up a cluster with multiple nodes, specify the number here. The page expands with additional property fields for the multiple nodes. As you can notice, the node has one appended to it. When you have more nodes, the nodes are appended with 2, 3, and so on. env.node1_search_host. The environment where you deployed Elasticsearch. env.node1_search_port. The port on which Elasticsearch listens for requests. Enter the value that you supplied when running the Elasticsearch DPK. The default is 9200. In this template, the port is provided as a template variable, which you can see to the right of the page. env.node1_search_admin_user. The administrative user for Elasticsearch. The default is ESAdmin. env.node1_search_admin_password. The password supplied for the ESAdmin user when running the Elasticsearch DPK. env.node1_search_read_user. This is the proxy user that you specified while running the Elasticsearch DPK. The default is people. env.node1_search_read_password. The password supplied for the proxy user when running the Elasticsearch DPK. The values of these properties are used for the callback properties in a search instance. The callback properties include URL and username along with the password. If you need to modify the values for the callback properties, you may edit these properties. Save the template and then execute the template. Verify. We use the Search Admin Activity Guide to verify that the search instance ptsf_search is created. Navigate to PeopleTools, Search Framework, Search Admin Activity Guide, Configuration, Search Instance, and then verify that the ptsf_search search instance is created with ES or Elasticsearch as the search provider. At this point, it is a good idea to test the connectivity between the Elasticsearch search engine and PeopleSoft, and we can test it by using these buttons. Click the Ping button to check whether the Elasticsearch search engine is available. Click the Test Login button to validate the administrator login credentials. Click the Proxy Login button to validate the proxy login credentials. Click the Validate button to validate the callback URL and login credentials. Next, we'll deploy and build Index. So, select the Deploy Search Definition plugin and click the Properties icon. Please ensure that you deselect the Configure Search Instance plugin. Here, we'll discuss some of the major properties of the Deploy Search Definition plugin. env.ptsf_selection_type. The valid values are all. Deploys all search definitions and categories, excluding the ones listed in env.ptsf_exclude_definitions. Global. Deploys search definitions and categories used for global search. List. Deploys the search definitions and their categories mentioned in env.ptsf_include_definitions. env.ptsf_include_definitions. To deploy and build all search definitions, leave this parameter blank, but we only want PT Portal Registry at this time, so we will enter PT Portal Registry in this parameter. You can use the env.ptsf_exclude_definitions parameter to enter search definitions that you do not want to deploy. env.ptsf_admin_operations. The valid values are deploy. The search definitions will be deployed. Index. The search index will be scheduled. The index option will create run control IDs for both full indexing and incremental indexing, but schedules only full indexing for the first execution of the search_template. The full indexing run control IDs will have the naming convention search definition _full, and incremental indexing will have the naming convention search definition _incr. When the search_template is executed the second and subsequent times, it will run incremental indexing only if the previously done full indexing is successful. Otherwise, it will again schedule full indexing. Please note that the run control IDs are owned by the user who runs the ACM configuration template, so the run control IDs will be listed only for the user who ran the ACM configuration template. To schedule recurring incremental indexing, you must set the recurrence manually using the incremental run control IDs created by ACM framework from the Schedule Index page. ACM will not do this automatically. Undeploy. The search definition will be removed. Deploy and index. Deploy search definitions and schedule search index. In this presentation, we are deploying and building index for the PT Portal Registry search definition. Save the template and then execute the template. Verify. We use the Search Admin Activity Guide page to verify that the PT Portal Registry is deployed and indexed. Navigate to PeopleTools. Search Framework. Search Admin Activity Guide. Administration. Deploy delete object to verify that the PT portal registry search definition is deployed. Next, within administration, click Schedule Search Index to verify that the index for the PT portal registry search definition is successfully built. Then, let's use the search test page to verify that a search for portal will display search results. Under Testing and Utilities, click Search Test Page. In the search text field, enter Portal. Choose PT Portal Registry as the search category and then click Search. In the Global Search text box, you can verify whether Navigator is displayed as a category. The second method of creating a search instance is by using the Search Instance Properties page. This example shows the Search Instance Properties page located in the Search Administration Activity Guide. To navigate to this page, select PeopleTools, Search Framework, and then Search Admin Activity Guide. In the Configuration activity, click the Search Instance task. On the Search Options page, when you specify a replica value in PeopleTools 8.56, the replica value is applicable to a search instance and to the security index ORCL_ES_ACL. Ensure that the replica value is set to 1 or greater than 1 so that, in the event of a node failure, data loss does not happen. The maximum number of nodes that can be down without loss of data will be equal to the number of replicas, where replica count should be less than or equal to n-1. Here, n refers to the number of nodes in a cluster. You may set the replica value to greater than 1 if you have more nodes available. For example, if you have 4 nodes in a cluster and you want to provide high availability even if 2 nodes fail, then you need to set the replica value to 2. If the replica value for an index is greater than n-1, where n is the number of nodes in the cluster, you may find the status of the cluster as yellow, indicating a warning that at least one replica is missing. Ensure that you set the replica value in all the nodes of a cluster. Specify the number of replicas on the Search Options page. This example shows the Search Options page located in the Search Administration Activity Guide. To navigate to this page, select PeopleTools, Search Framework, Search Admin Activity Guide. In the Configuration activity, click the Search Options task and enter a value in the Number of Replicas field. After completing the deployment of Elasticsearch, let us now discuss the Elasticsearch cluster that is created and some additional tasks to maintain the cluster. With the deployment of Elasticsearch, a cluster has been created with the number of nodes that you specified. To manage the cluster, you may use these tasks: adding a new node to the cluster, starting and stopping a cluster, removing a node from a cluster. Elasticsearch manages failover through multiple nodes within a cluster, so that when one node fails, the other nodes in the cluster provide the indexed data when a search is initiated. Use these steps to add an additional Elasticsearch node after you have completed the Elasticsearch DPK installation. Note that the new node is added to the same cluster. The first step is to install Elasticsearch on a separate machine using the Elasticsearch DPK. During installation, provide the following. For the cluster name, specify the name of the existing Elasticsearch cluster. You need to enter this value so that the new node will join the cluster. Specify the minimum number of master nodes. Follow the instructions on entering number of nodes as described earlier in the presentation. Specify the IP address of the nodes present in the existing Elasticsearch cluster. Follow the instructions on entering host names as described earlier in the presentation. Next, complete the installation and then verify the cluster and the new node. If you are adding the new node after connecting Elasticsearch Server with the PeopleSoft application, then you can use the options provided by Search Framework to verify a cluster and nodes. Finally, open the elasticsearch.yml configuration file of the existing nodes in the cluster and edit the parameters. The configuration file is available in es_home/config folder. The parameters include discovery.zen.minimum_master_nodes. Here, you will enter the value you specified while installing Elasticsearch. discovery.zen.ping.unicast.hosts. Add the host of the new node to the existing list of hosts. Elasticsearch nodes will find each other via unicast. Ensure that you enter the address in the correct format, which is described in an earlier part of this presentation. Note that the .yml file uses space indentation, so ensure that you edit the file properly and save it. Also note that when you add a new node to a cluster, you also need to update the search instance with the details of the new node. You need to complete this task on the Search Instance Properties page. Refer to the PeopleTools 8.56 Search Technology online help. Starting a cluster would mean starting all the nodes of a cluster. Similarly, stopping a cluster would mean stopping all the nodes of a cluster. You start or stop a node by starting or stopping the Elasticsearch service on each node. Before you commence to stop a node, you must ensure that no indexing requests or administration-related tasks are being made or performed on the cluster, because during the indexing, the cluster metadata gets updated and master nodes broadcast the metadata to all other master nodes. If you stop a node during indexing, the cluster metadata might get corrupted and the cluster could become non-operational. The color code turns red. To ensure that no instances of PTSF_genfeed are running, check the process monitor. Then you may stop all the nodes in a cluster and make the required modifications. After completing the modifications, you may start all the nodes of the cluster. In this presentation, we are discussing the starting and stopping of an Elasticsearch service on a Windows environment. To start a service, open a command prompt window and change directory to es_home/bin. Run these commands: service.bat --install, service.bat --start. To stop and remove a service, open a command prompt window and change directory to es_home/bin. Run these commands: service.bat --stop, service.bat --remove. Before you commence the process of removing a node, ensure that each index has at least one replica. You can use the Elasticsearch Interact page to verify the replica count by choosing the Indices option in the Cluster API drop-down list. Alternatively, you can use the Elasticsearch Cluster dashboard to view the replica information in PeopleSoft Health Center. Identify the IP address of the Elasticsearch node that needs to be removed from the cluster. Open a command prompt window and execute the given command where x.x.x.x stands for the IP address of the node that needs to be removed, and also replace the host:/port with the IP or port of any of the nodes in the cluster. When the command is executed, Elasticsearch tries to move the existing shards out of the node that will be removed and moves it to other nodes in the cluster. In the command prompt window, execute the given command to ensure that the relocation is complete and to validate that the relocating_shards attribute shows value as 0. Alternatively, you may use the health option from the Cluster API drop-down list on the Elasticsearch Interact page. Shut down the node that was identified for removal. Set the exclusion rules to empty so that, in the future, the removed node can be added back to the cluster and can be used to hold the shards. On the Search Instance Properties page, delete the row corresponding to the removed node. You can verify the status of the cluster by using the Elasticsearch Cluster Dashboard. The cluster's status should be either green, which means that the cluster is fully operational, or yellow, which means that some replicas are not assigned but the cluster is fully functional. Please refer to the Monitoring Elasticsearch Cluster using PeopleSoft Health Center topic in PeopleTools 8.56 Search Technology Online Help. Before we complete this session, let's have a quick look at the various sources of information available on PeopleSoft Search Framework and Elasticsearch.